Could you just go into a little bit more of, an example of where you'd receive a specific individual complaint, but you've actually realized, oh, they're complaining about something bigger here. Like, have you got an example you can point to?
Let me see specific example. I'm not sure, but a lot of what the trajectory of a guest stay is determined on is things out of your control, and usually it's happened on the drive in, right? Because and we used to tell that to our team members all the time. It's like we do not know how that car ride went. Um, so let's just start there. So, so what we really try to do is like see the check-in process as the start line. Yes, there was pre-arrival and reservation details and collection of information and some, if something didn't go well through a reservation process, I really tried to tell the team it starts at check-in. And then so guests would come in and be like, man, do you need to take a beat before we do this check-in? It seems like you got a lot going on in the car. You're also wanting to know a lot about your stay. But in my personal opinion, and I'll tell this to guests, I just don't think you're in the right place to receive this information yet. So which is like
I
which
love
is
the
like
boldness.
yeah, I mean, because I don't know, that's just my personality on that.
Yeah.
So like I just think you really need to be conscious about, is the guest in a space that they can even hear you? And if they're not, then goal number one is to shift them into that space, literally either physically, mentally, emotionally, right? So I think you have to connect on a different level.
I'm just trying to picture Jacob trying to shift an angry Karen who's had a nightmare car journey into a different space. See how that goes.
I mean, I'm literally just walking that guest somewhere else, and we're talking and walking. We are getting
Distract
endorphins
them.
flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We are pumping physical chemicals and endorphins, and we are exercising together, and that's what we're doing. Yeah, that doesn't, because I think in my mind I've been that angry mom before, so it's pretty easy for me to click in. And I grew up on the East Coast with like helicopter moms, so like I'm good with that personality. It's the people that shut down that I can't. Like if you're giving me something, I can work with that. If I've got nothing, then that's a harder guess. I don't know, Nathan, if you agree with that statement or not.
I mean, it is difficult, and it's difficult depending on, going back to like your own self-awareness of like taking it personal versus taking it for just the feeling that they're experiencing in that moment, and being able to navigate that. I mean, Will in the book talks about the idea, a couple different spots, but the idea of being right is irrelevant sometimes, and then also their perception is your reality, and sometimes you just have to deal with that in a way that's obviously empathetic, but doesn't mean you're giving away the house. Just because you make a change doesn't mean all of a sudden they get, a month stay and everything else. It's, you still can hold down as long as you respond in a way that's, I love the idea of being part of that in ways of like, we're just going to zigzag this and kind of get it moving in a different direction and then come back to it. And there's especially if you're hands-on in the resort, there's probably a lot of ways. Take them to the bar, take them to the scenery, get them outside to look at the view, and then we'll do check.
Give me something, people. Give me some sort of
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah. No, but that just means they care, right? And
Yeah.
just like, so I'm like, I'll never be upset about a guest that paid attention, that cared, that did their research, that knows their unit type they're supposed to be in, that understands, that have read every review and knows that the experience that they're having right now is atypical to the brand and the level of service that we want to provide. And I'm never going to hold that against someone. And that is an amazing stakeholding from a guest that I will feed, and we will eventually get that back on track.
And presumably you've got to be at least content with the idea that there will always be someone who is never happy or never satisfied, and no matter how much logic, no matter how much empathy you show, you're never going to win them over.
I don't know, staring at a fire with s'mores in your hand. I mean, if you're not there, then we're never going to getting you there,
I think you're right. There comes to some point where it's like you're not going to allow someone to. I would allow someone to come to my front door and just shout at me, even if I've done what I can. There comes to a point like I can't do anything for this person, and sometimes there is like a level of cut off that you're like, man, I can't do anything for you anymore. Like we've tried And in the case of social media and all that, there's just buttons you can push to be like,
I think that brands fail in which they assume that their line level employees are going to have that conversation with the guests, right? Like if you're allowing your front desk to be in that level of detail and a conversation that takes that high emotional intelligence to get through, you have failed your employees in that way. So at that point, it needs to be escalated and elevated, right? Because then the message that Nathan's sending is genuine. Like, sir, you are speaking to the person that has the most autonomy in this company. And I care about your experience more than you may even care about your experience, honestly. This is my livelihood. And when you're looking someone in the eye and saying, this is my livelihood, and I am committed to doing everything that I can do to make this better for you, but I don't have the solution that is satisfying that need for you. I am sorry. And then you do have to shelve it sometimes.
Well, the way you just delivered that, I thought that was great. Like as an example of how to deal with something like that. I thought it was brilliant.